regardless of how good your skills are, regardless of how good your systems are, regardless of how good your branding is, your reputation is, if your mindset isn't right, nothing else matters. You will not build a sustainable business. Today's guest, Jacqueline Smith, has had massive success in her business and now is having that in other people's businesses. And she's going to go into talking about very specific philosophies, strategies, and tactics that she employs in order to keep her mindset right, both in her as well as in her teammates and those that she leads. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. I'm your host, Justin Stoddart. I have on the show today an absolute special treat, somebody who I've been wanting to have on the show to put in front of you for a long, long time. She's done some amazing things in real estate, and today we're going to focus all about mindset. The reality is if you don't have the right mindset, nothing else is going to work for a long period of time. You might get lucky for a little while, but if you don't have the right mindset, you will not build a sustainable, successful business and a great life. So today we're going to get into that. I want to remind you that we take snippets of this show and we put it inside of the Think Bigger Real Estate group on Facebook so that you can go and actually digest small chunks of this and implement it into your life. That's the goal, is impact. And so I want to be sure that you're a member of that group and you're interacting there so that you get the full benefit of all of this. Today's guest, her name is Jacqueline Smith. She's out of the Vancouver, Washington market. Her story is phenomenal. I'm going to let her kind of tell most of it, but even in her first year of business, there was something special about this young lady here. She sold, was it 52 homes in your first year, Jacqueline? Pretty impressive. And now you've gone on to run the largest and highest producing real estate team in Southwest Washington. Super impressive. Such a pleasure to have you here, Jacqueline Smith. Thank you for coming on to the Think Bigger Real Estate Show today.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
Yes, it's a pleasure. It really is. I've seen your rise here over the past few years. For those who are maybe kind of wanting to hear more of your story, you started off as a solo agent, right?
I did. Yeah.
What were the benefits of that? I mean, obviously you got into that world right away, and then we're going to transition to talk about kind of why you made the move that you did. But like, first and foremost, tell me, what did you first see in being a solo agent that made you say, I'm going to go that route?
Yeah, I started as a solo agent. I had done a lot of research and I had built a business with my husband prior to real estate. And so when I was looking to get into real estate, I actually read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. And my intention the entire time coming in was to start a business as opposed to being a real estate agent. So though I started solo, I did have the plan that I would one day, build out a team of sorts, and here I am. So that was the intention going forward. So I knew that my first year, I had to lay a foundation, right, upon which I would build. And so that's where my goal is actually 48 transactions. I wanted to have consistency in my business because I was really freaked out to come into an industry where it was 100% commission. So I built out, and someone, at the time, luckily I had a great team leader who helped me lay out a plan. And it was just about executing that plan so that then I could hire my assistant and start building out a team from there.
So you then at one point were approached with the opportunity of saying, you can build your own team. So it sounds like you didn't plan on being a solo agent forever. You realized, like, at some point I need some leverage. I want to build a business, not just an income through real estate, not just a sales business, but I actually want to have a business that potentially you can go on vacation, right, and put it down, and potentially even have a business to where you can even step way further. So that was your intent from the beginning. Then you realize, like, okay, I can do this on my own, or I can go partner with an existing group that's already there. What was that kind of mindset shift for you, or at least what caused you to kind of look in that direction?
Well, I don't like wasting time, and I like, like even with my first year, like I had a plan and I could execute it, right? And the more I talked to people and the more I went to a class a few different times, actually, called Expansion Systems Orientation. And every time I left that class, I thought, oh my gosh, like, these people have spent years and money and lost relationships, to end up in, where they are now. And so the more I researched it, the more I thought, this is sounding like a lot more complicated and difficult than I thought. And do I want to take that journey on my own, or do I want to partner with an existing organization? And I spent a good year. I actually traveled and met with different teams. I was really looking at all the different structures out there. I even considered some market center team leadership opportunities. And When I gathered up all of the information and met with a ton of people, it really came down to if I could find the right partner that shared the same values and that I really felt could get me, to where I wanted to be faster and with less maybe bumps and bruises along the way, that it would make sense to do that, right? And so I did meet with numerous people and considered different opportunities, and I met Ben Kinney, and it just seemed like a really good fit, and I had peace about it, so we moved forward together.
Now, having met Ben, having heard numerous trainings from Ben, attended numerous things that he's done, he has a different style than maybe you'd expect from a lot of people that are really high producers, right? And the guy does a phenomenal amount of business and impacts people in phenomenal ways. You may, at some point, once teaming up with Ben Kinney, you guys had this transition of really now becoming Place, right? People are like, no, wait, Place, Ben Kinney teams, like what is this all about? Can you kind of just give kind of your best description of what is Place? Obviously, you're wearing it proudly on your shirt there. It's becoming more and more well-known. I think some people thought it was a brokerage. Talk to us a little bit about kind of what Place is and maybe how that's even benefited you.
Yeah, it is hard for people to grasp the concept, and I think it's because it's completely new. No one's ever done anything really like this before, and the best way that I have learned to describe it to people is, in my opinion, in the past, at least traditional real estate teams, it was all about, the agents on that team were providing leverage for the rainmaker, and I think that we're truly flipping the script on that and flipping the triangle, as Ben likes to say, and we are providing a platform for agents where we are providing leverage to them. And it's truly a partnership where I'm here, I come in every day, and my job is to help my agents succeed at building their business, right, within our brand or within our platform. And in a lot of cases, some of our teams maintain their own branding. I had not been in the market for very long, right? And so I chose to take on just the Place Ben Kinney branding for myself. But it's more a platform where we're providing operations support, operations leverage, right? And model and systems and tools so that people can succeed, right?
That's a really interesting paradigm that you've shared there, because you're right. When you're building a typical real estate business, you think, okay, I ultimately want to get to this level of income, quality of life, right? And you realize, okay, what do I need? I can't do that all by myself. And so I've got to start bringing in people to help me get to where I want to go. And what you're saying is that flipping that upside down is that now you guys are creating that platform for people, saying, what are the common threads that all agents are going to need in order to get to that upper level? Let's create that offering, that platform for people to where that's taken care of, and they can build on top of us instead of going and building their own skyscraper, right? We have the foundation already set, and you can build a lot faster.
Exactly. And I think you mentioned something that stood out. There are a lot of people, and the reason fundamentally that they start a team is because they want to get to a certain level, or they want to be able to go on vacation and have people running the business for them. And I really feel that the people that we're partnering with at Place, that's actually not the reason why they're doing this. The reason I started doing this was because I realized that I love selling real estate, but what really truly fulfills me and what makes my heart sing, so to speak, is to help other people succeed. And maybe the outcome of that is that I too then achieve a certain level of success. But my heart is truly in this, not because you hear team leaders say all the time, I want to get out of production, or right, and that's, I got to build my team because I want to get out of production, whereas I'm here because I want to truly help other people. And it was never, the goal wasn't to get out of production to get out of production's sake. It was to transition to succeeding through others, because that's what I enjoy at a higher level.
It's fascinating. I love what you're doing. I love that model. That's really why I'm passionate about doing what I'm doing, is kind of that same thing, right? Is if you can help unlock the potential inside of other people, it ends up creating a really amazing career path, right? You really get to kind of live the wins through other people. It's so exciting that you guys are doing that. I absolutely love it. And that's a better understanding about what place is than I've heard before. So thank you for sharing that. Now, much of the work that you do is no longer hands-on selling homes, right? You do some of that because some clients absolutely have to have Jacqueline Smith, right? But a lot of your work is in working with the 16 agents and the support staff that support them out of your Vancouver, Washington market. And today's episode, we promised everybody would be about mindset. I would even ask the audience, if you're listening to this, if you have questions about how to get unstuck, right? How to transition something from a mindset standpoint, how to get to the next level. That's what we're going to be talking about. So we'd love any questions that you have. I welcome that. And would invite anybody to ask any questions that we can really put in front of Jacqueline as if she's your coach now, right? Today, we've brought her in to really help all of us unlock our mindset to get to that next level. So let's talk about this because this is probably my favorite topic, right? That's the whole, again, the theme behind Think Bigger Real Estate is that if you think bigger, like the rest of it comes pretty easy, right? The stuff in our industry comes if you've got the right mindset. So what do you see, Jacqueline, as being some of the kind of key breakdowns that keep people from getting to that next level, right? From kind of recognizing the potential inside of them?
Well, I think one of the reasons, I'll just start out by saying that I do feel that I'm actually pretty good at helping people through their mindset issues or opportunities, is that I have really struggled with my mindset. And a lot of people that know me today, they are surprised when I share that with them. They think that I'm this positive person that never is, in a bad mood and never struggles with negative, stinking thinking or whatever you want to call it. And that's exactly the opposite. I have had to work so hard at this piece. It's a constant thing for me. It's not my tendency to be a positive, optimistic, focus on that piece. I'm actually quite the opposite. Yeah.
But that's interesting because you would think that in your role, you would have just kind of been born that way, right? Come out of the womb, positive person. I'm going to help everybody else kind of become how I am. And it's almost more empowering for you to be someone like, no, I've struggled with this, right? This is actually my struggle. And I think people can probably more closely relate to somebody who's like, yeah, I kind of feel that way too. This hasn't come naturally to me, right?
Yeah.
I've got a question here from the audience. What about those of us who think we have to do everything or it won't get done or it won't get done correctly? Kind of this like hoarder mentality, right? Of activities where we can't delegate. I would imagine that that's something even coming to place, people have to have that mindset of like, I don't have to do it all. And even if somebody else does it differently, or maybe not even as well as I can do it, I have to learn to let go, right? Kind of talk us through that conversation when you've got people that have a hard time letting go of stuff.
I heard this recently and it was so good. It's like the people that you surround yourself with and the people that you get into business with, they can be a force multiplier, right? For your judgment and for your mindset, right? For the things that you want to accomplish. If you look at your business partnerships as a force multiplier for you, right? And you're in business with the right people, right? That's the key, is that you have to be in business with the right people. Then it becomes easy, right? Because you get to have all these people in your world and everyone's operating in their strength zone, right? And you really get this sense of synergy when that happens. And I think in the beginning, it can be scary because you have to build that relationship. You have to build that trust, right? For example, with my operations manager, people look at her and they're like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. You guys have this thing. But we didn't always, we weren't, like you said, born this way. We didn't just jump into business together and we're just running, right? It took a lot of conversation, a lot of reflection, a lot of growth, a lot of honest conversations, right? On both ends. And I think, you hear the conversation is the relationship. So as you build that relationship and that trust, I think it does become easier to, right, give someone a project and trust that they're going to do it hopefully better than you would, right? And if you're in the business with the right people, they're actually probably going to do it better than I could, right? That's the goal, is to help them get there.
So it sounds like step number one is like, be sure you're in business with the right people. How do you know if you're in business with the right people, right? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think you have to talk to a lot more people than you think. And I remember I was making a hire and I went to Ben actually, and I said, Ben, oh my gosh, this person is amazing. You know, I've interviewed X number of people. I think she's the one, right? And he said to me, okay, go find 3 more like that, right?
Hmm.
And I thought, oh my gosh, the time that I've put into finding this one, now I have to go do that like 3, 4 more times. And really what I've learned is, you know, when you only talk to a small number of people, someone could stand out, right? And they appear next to the others as an A player, say. And then when you stack, you know, multiple A players up together, you really get to see from there, right, where someone lies. And so I think that was one of the things I learned right out of the gates is I have to talk to a lot more people. This has to be my full-time job, right? Meeting with people, building relationships, and you'll probably make some mistakes, right? You'll make some hires that aren't great. Or that don't turn out the way you hoped, or they leave, right? And it's just all part of the journey, right?
So
So
good. So good. It's interesting when I hired my assistant, I talked to 110 people, 100 people.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was interesting how going through that many resumes, going through that many interviews, going through that many people, when I met my assistant, I was like, holy cow, like she's really great. Right. And yeah, had I interviewed 10 or sorry, had I, you know, reviewed 10 applications, it would have been a totally different story.
Right.
So you're right. Just getting like, there's so many talented people out there that we think we know the best people, but we're kind of blinded by our ignorance, right? The fact that we don't know enough.
Yeah.
You believe strongly that success is an internal game, right? So we're kind of transitioning now from going to this place of like the power of partnerships, the power of being around the right people, of talking to enough people to where you can really surround yourself with people that you can start to trust and kind of let go of stuff, right? Yet even if you do that, we still have these blind spots, don't we? We still have these things that catch us and that keep us from really being in pursuit of our potential. Talk to us about like what you mean by that when you say success is an internal game.
Well, I mean, you could have all of the best tactics, right, on the planet. And if you don't have the right mindset, it won't work. And, you know, one of the lessons that I learned this year, and I think I shared this on one of your posts, was, you know, again, Ben and I were having a conversation and he said something to me that was really powerful, and it changed my whole perspective. I had been, you know, going back to the mindset piece, kind of dissatisfied, right? And I was driving and I was building. I mean, I built my business with my husband, and then I built my real estate business. And looking back, it was really from a place of like, I'm not satisfied with where I am, and I want to get to like the top of the mountain where all the happiness and joy and fulfillment lie, right? And as you progress along this journey, you realize like that's not the case. And he said to me, I want you to start focusing on what you're doing well, right? What are you doing well? And I said, oh my gosh, you're right. I need to start focusing on what other people are doing well. That's what I took from that.
That's what you interpreted.
He said, yeah, he's like, no, you need to start focusing on what you're doing well. And from that place, right, you will start focusing on what everyone else around you is doing well. And I shifted, you know, I really started to be intentional about that every morning. I actually even had an agent on my team, and we were accountability partners on this because she's kind of the same way, really hard on herself. And we would text each other every morning, you know, what are, you know, 3 great things that we did yesterday that we're proud of, 3 great things that we did well. Starting to build this habit of, instead of always looking at the gap, right, which is kind of what makes a lot of us high achievers successful, is that we're never satisfied. We're looking at the gap and how can we get, you know, fill that and move to the next level. So it's interesting because sometimes our success can really be driven almost from a place of dissatisfaction and almost from this negative, like, lack, or I'm not good enough, right? And it's really actually unhealthy when you dissect it. And so what I noticed was, you know, I was pushing my people, and that's probably one of my biggest learning moments that when I look back on past team members and things like that, I think I was, I'm so hard on myself that I want them to reach their potential because I love them and I care about them so much that I would be pushing from that place, right? Even though my intentions were really good because I want the best for them, it's exhausting. It's exhausting to live in that place and to always feel like you're not good enough, no matter how, great the things are that you're achieving, right? And people would look at even my business and think, wow, Jacqueline's got it all together. She's got this great business. And I was feeling like a failure every day because I was focusing on the things I wasn't doing right, or the people that weren't achieving as much success in my world as I hoped that they would, or, different reasons. But I was really focused on my lack and my gaps.
Yeah, $75 million in volume is no small feat, right? Which is what you guys produced this past year. And yet, even with that kind of success, you can be tempted to just say, look, where are all my shortcomings? So to somebody who struggles with that, where it's like they are high, I mean, I think that's who this show attracts, right? Is it high achievers, big thinkers, people that know that there's more inside of them and they're just trying to find a way to unlock it. What you're saying is by focusing on the places that you need to improve on isn't necessarily the best tactic for actually improving those places. But by rather than that, really focusing on the areas where you are strong. And are you saying that then you find other people to do the areas where you're not strong, or that simply by excelling even further at the things you're good at, it kind of rises all tides and those other areas start to?
I think it does. And I think that, especially when you're building a team or you're involved with other people, I mean, after a while, those people, you want them to enjoy, right, the journey, because it's all about the journey. And whether I sold 52 units my first year or 250 or whatever it is, if I'm not enjoying the journey, I'm not happy. And if I'm not happy, chances are those around me aren't going to be very happy. Yeah. And I know so many friends in this business that we're so hard on ourselves, and I don't have all the answers. I'm on this journey too. I'm learning to focus on this, but all I noticed was this summer, this year has been really hard. And this summer I made that shift early spring, and our team, had a great year. And I don't know that it's coincidence that, we were focusing more on that. And I still fall back into those old patterns some days and sometimes, right? But overall, I think I'm learning to focus more on our wins and celebrate more, right? And kind of slow down, because I like to go fast, right? And yeah, we did good there, but on to the next thing, right? And that's exhausting for people, right? Especially if they're not necessarily wanting to run at the speed you're running at. I mean, people need to be celebrated, and people want to feel like they're doing a good job, and they want to please the people around them, right? And so many people I know in this industry that are winning at a high level on the outside, they are just beating themselves up most days inside. And it's kind of sad.
That's interesting. You can have wild success, right, and still be super miserable. We see that all the time, right? From people that have reached success at the highest levels, yet they still aren't very happy in life. And sometimes you see even people go so far as, to just kind of sabotage their life and their life. I mean, terrible things, right? Mm-hmm. When you're looking at like, what was wrong with your life? From the outside, it looked like it was amazing, right? Yeah. And part of it, I think you just said an absolute gold nugget here, Jacqueline, is that, and I think it comes down to the fact when we are happy, like genuinely radiate this energy of positivity, of happiness, of contentment, that other people are attracted to that, right? And that only breeds more success. It breeds more people wanting to be in business with us, more people wanting to work alongside us. And it's interesting how oftentimes, again, this, this drive to be successful can sometimes take a turn where it causes us to not be happy and to be discontent with life, not just with where we're at current, to like be hard on ourselves, like you said. So, I mean, I think a great takeaway for me and for all of us is if we're ever feeling that way, feeling like down upon ourselves, that's not helping us. That's actually like, maybe we're feeling that way because we feel like we should be a little further ahead. but that's actually not going to get us further ahead, right? That's actually going to slow us down. That's like tapping the brakes. Is that what I'm hearing? It's going to cause you to actually slow down when you focus on the things that you're not.
Yeah. I'm reading this book right now, and they were talking about how most of us, we pursue wealth, health, and then happiness. And really, it should be backwards, where we're pursuing happiness, health, and then the wealth will come.
Wow.
I thought that was really good, and really common that we put our business first. Typically our health and our happiness is last. Our families fall somewhere in there. And I think that's why, we're around such big thinkers in this business, right? And so most of us are super passionate about what we do. And so it can be easy. It feels like play, right? To just be working all the time and driving and pushing. And really we need to make sure that we have our priorities straight. And I think from there, we'll achieve, the fulfillment that we're hoping that whatever metric is going to give us, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing I've learned from just talking to a lot of high achievers. Like Ben's an example, is you think that a certain level of production or a certain level of achievement is going to make you happy, and it probably won't. If you're not happy now, it might give you some temporary, ego boost, but it's not really going to make you happy deep down inside.
Yeah, this is causing, I think, probably for everybody listening, some introspection to say, am I truly pursuing wealth first? It's interesting. Just yesterday, I was doing a business planning session with an agent that will remain anonymous, but he said, Justin, I spent the years in which my kids were young, completely removed from them. And I really kind of missed a lot of their childhood because I was pursuing wealth at such a high level. Mm-hmm. And now he said, I'm going back and really spending time to try and build those relationships because they maybe aren't where they could have been or should have been, Mm-hmm. And I think he looks back on that with a little bit of regret. And I don't know that that's necessarily healthy, but I think for all of us at any point in our lives, any stage in our lives right now, we can focus on today, right? We can't focus on yesterday. We focus on today and realize what in the future might I look back upon and say, ooh, I was a little off focus. My priorities were off. In fact, you talk about and have taught me about this sense of having a clear, like working from a clear sense of priority, right? Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we think about, okay, what does that mean? It means like what Gary Keller teaches, right? Like until my one thing is done, everything else is a distraction. We think, okay, we got a lead gen, right? And I think that's definitely included in all of that. But what do you teach your agents, kind of go down the same thread that we're on of being sure that they don't kind of miss the bigger picture, right? Is it, yes, goals are important. Yes, production is important. Yes, getting to the next level is important. But there's also this other component of not missing out on priorities. And I'm not just talking about other areas of life, just in business in general. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's kind of a broad question, but just anything about working from a clear sense of priority. Because I think a lot of us that are big thinkers, high achievers, have a hard time focusing, right? And we tend to get pretty diluted because we're trying to focus on so many things. What do you do to help people really kind of work from that clear sense of priority?
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with one of my agents yesterday, and again, this world, we're around big thinkers, right? So she's on this team, and there's some people, they have big goals, and she has young kids and a husband, and she's happy with her business, but yet there's this little voice that says, like, should I be doing more, right? And I think it's hard. You can't compare yourself to other people, I think, is one of the biggest things. Is don't compare your path to someone else's, right? Mm-hmm. Your path is different. Your path is your own. And if you're in a group environment, that can be more challenging. And then with social media, we're constantly comparing ourselves, right? And I could be in a great mood and then go on there and see something and start beating myself up inside, like, oh, I should be doing more. And so I think just being really clear on what is my path, and then not comparing yourself to other people, and not just doing the whole like undisciplined pursuit of more just for the sake of more, right? And being really clear. I'm reading this book called The Dream Manager, and the purpose of the goal is for what, right? It's to make your dreams come true, whether that's taking your kids to Disneyland or going on a trip with your husband or whatever it is. It's the purpose of the unit goal or the production goal or whatever it is for you is there's something behind that, right? And if you're really clear on what your goals are in life and what you're trying to achieve, it's easier then to not get sidetracked by what other people are doing and not compare yourself to others. But I think it takes a constant conversation, especially if you're prone to putting a lot of pressure on yourself, which I think a lot of people in this business are, or if you're prone to things like perfectionism or, just beating yourself up inside. Negative self-talk is really common. If you're prone to that stuff, I think it helps to have people around you where you can be honest, when you're in those places. And like you said, we have blind spots, right? And so they can help you identify those blind spots and help give you feedback and help you, redirect your thoughts and get back on your path if you veer off.
So good. I think that's so healthy for all of us that struggle with that, right? That why, like, what's the why behind this, right? Yes, I want to break these numbers and these goals, but why? Like, what does that do for me, right? Why is that so important? And is my why actually aligned with who I want to be, right? Or is it ego? Is it I want to build a statue to myself and put it out in front of the community, right? Or is it really at the end of the day, when I get to the end of my life and I say, how do I want to be known? Who are the people that actually matter to me? Probably not my Instagram followers, right? It's probably more my family and my dear friends and right those relationships that I'm close to. Is this goal aligned with actually being that person that I want to be, right? I've got actually one of our attendees, Sarah Nicholas, actually asked the book, is this the book, The Dream Manager, Matthew Kelly? Is that the right one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, great. Yes. Thank you for that question, Sarah. I've got a question here from another listener. What is the best daily practice to keep your mindset in a positive, productive place? We're running out of time, so we just have a few more questions, but I want to that's a great question because it takes all of this that we're talking out here, right? And brings it down to the daily schedule. We know that if it's not in our schedule, it doesn't exist. So when you're coaching people, what do you tell them? Like, this has got to be in your calendar in order for this mindset thing to actually work to your benefit as opposed to your detriment, right? What do you look for?
Well, I'll give you one, since we are running out of time, I'll give you one practice because it's not just one practice, right? It's a combination of so many things, right? That affect our mindsets, who you're around and what you're eating. I mean, it's your sleep, everything, right? But one practice that helped me, you can't change something you're not aware of, right? So we can't just put the positive on top of the negative and just like squash it. And you really have to figure out, what are my thoughts in the first place, right? Because your thoughts are leading for you to feel a certain way. And so one of the practices that I used to do is every morning, or when I was in a rough spot, I would sit down and I would write out all of the negative thoughts that I was having. Like, I would just write down everything that was in my head. And some of it was ugly, right? Some of it was really silly when I read it out loud to myself after, but getting it all out. And so I would do that on the left side of my journal, right? I would just write them all out. And then I would really question, like, is this true, right? Is this really true? And if not, like, what is the truth, right? And then I would write the truth to each statement on the right side of the paper. And I did this for a really long time, and I still do it once in a while. And I've taught this to other people, and it really helps you gain an awareness of the thoughts that are just whirling around in our heads constantly, the fears, right? The inadequacies that we feel. And then you can really begin to question those thoughts and come up with a healthier perspective, or maybe a truer perspective, right? So that's one practice that you can do.
Oh my goodness, so powerful. It's interesting. I'm being coached right now by somebody, and they've created software that actually does what you just described right there, which is it has you say, what's my story today? Is this story, and what is it that I actually want in this area of my life? And does that story align with getting me that thing? And if not, what's the new story that I have to adopt in order to make that thing happen? And I love that you said that. Like, it's so powerful, Jacqueline. And the fact that you've got people around you that you've taught to do that, right? That you've taught to say, the problem is this story you're telling yourself, right? That's not true, right? I love the fact that you say, this isn't true. get it out on paper, and you're like, oh, wait, that's the story I bought into. That's the story that I'm believing. That's the story that's guiding my life. Well, that's bogus, right? That's fake news, right? Let's get that out of the way so that we can carry on with actually becoming the person we need to become. So there's no question why, one, you have had the success you've had, and your team is having the success that they've had because of these powerful practices, this focus on the mindset, this working from a clear sense of priority. It's been super fun to just have you spend a few minutes sharing that with all of us. Thank you. I want to end with this last question, which is the signature question of the show, which is, you are a big thinker, no doubt. That's why you're on, backwards here. That's why you're on the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. Tell me, Jacqueline, what do you do to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities?
Two things. I think to think bigger, I think you first have to think better, right? So that is the big part of it, and just being around people that help me think better. So I think that there's this thing, like, we always want to be bigger and think bigger and do bigger. I want to do better, and I want to think better. And I think from there, hopefully that'll lead to big things.
Wow. There might be a branding change at some point, folks. Think better real estate. That's powerful, right? Because you're right. And that's such a great way to look at that. Thank you. I've never heard that answer. I've asked that question close to 200 times now, over 200 times. And I've never heard that answer. I absolutely love that answer. Thank you for sharing that. Jacqueline, it's been a total pleasure. Number one, just to see your success, just to watch from a distance and see the impact that you're having, to see you go from being high producing professional to now someone who's really kind of part of a platform to help other people do that. So fun. Thank you for coming and being so willing to contribute and share. And we look forward to continuing to follow your story and see the impact that you have upon this industry. So
thank you for having me.
Yes. And everybody listening, 3 final words, you know what they are. They are: go think bigger. All right, my friends, we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.